thought it was saying -4 plus 2 is less than 10, but then it turns out it's actually greater than. Because back then when it was less than, I thought it was either 2 or 3.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll get into all of that in just a second.
But if there are questions like that, do we circle any answer that can give us like the lowest value?
It'll be clear in the question.
Okay.
All right. Can I have everybody's attention, please? How's breakfast? How's breakfast? Nice.
I don't know.
Throw it right on the desk here.
Where's mine, Jonathan?
Right here.
Jonathan, where's mine?
I'll pass out thankful grams in a couple of minutes, but before then, I want to get this done. Hey, head me game. Now, put all calculators away. Just have your pretest out, the one from yesterday. Okay. Now, what I want to do is go over the questions to it, but unfortunately, I forgot to draw a diagram for this one here. So, I'm putting the diagram on the board, and I'm going to give you a minute or so, well, a little bit more than that, a minute and a half, to try to answer the questions based on the diagram, and then I'm going to go through it with you, and then we'll go over the rest of the pretest. Okay? You can look at the diagram on the board for any information that you need. Yes?
On number 16, you also didn't draw the dot. There was a diagram and said, find the area of the shaded region.
Yeah, we'll go over that. We'll go over everything. You'll see. All right? That one you could have been able to draw on your own, and I'll explain why. Okay, go ahead. Okay, right here. Thank you. Okay, so, hey, listen, do you notice the level of distraction, Sydney? And what's going to happen is, I really don't think it's a big deal, except for the fact that the more time you take away from preparing, the worse you're going to do tomorrow. And I want to make sure that you do well tomorrow. All right, if I call you up, come on up, Catherine. Anthony Senegal.
Oh, I think I wrote you one.
Spencer, work.
Spencer.
Kristen? Pam? Thank you, Evan. All right, next up, Chloe.
She can get one from me.
Okay, next up, Kristen. Interesting. Okay, Evan. Kristen.
Spencer.
Keep working, guys. Kyle. Oh, this is obviously wrong. There is no Kyle. Oh, yeah, okay. I thought that said Kyle. Yeah, now that I get a little creative, I can see that. You're welcome. Okay. Very funny. Nice job, AJ. All right. Kaylee.
Yeah, was that from me?
He just wrote solid.
Guys. AJ.
Oh, interesting.
Caitlin. Anthony. No, Senegal. Yeah, Senegal.
Thank you for ruining it for me.
Sorry. Spencer.
Well, I wonder who sent me. I wonder who sent it to me.
Just for what it's worth, everybody, it's to Spencer from Spencer.
Oh, someone said
Anthony
I'm beautiful.
Dominici.
Man, now that's good for my self-esteem. Now I feel good.
Next up, Kaylee.
You know, say what you
All right,
want.
here we go, Hillary. President.
Oh, that was totally not me. What are you talking about?
Come on. We're here. Kaylee again. I guess that's the Kaylee part. Hannah. Am I to take it that everybody's done with all these questions?
No.
Then I suggest you focus. Catherine. Sydney. You.
Really? You're like me, I'm shocked. Sydney, are you shocked?
Oh, okay. I gotta do that for myself.
Okay.
All right, we got 2 with no candies on them, so I'll save those for the end.
Mine is shattered.
Okay, next up,
It doesn't say who it's from.
Catherine.
Mine is shattered. No, that's not good.
Spencer. People bring such a great friend.
Enjoy your lollipops, nice and free.
Yeah. I got 2 purple ones.
All right, next up,
Another 2.
Caitlin.
I wish people like me.
I feel you.
Kristen.
He ended up right on the
Oh my God.
President.
Come on.
Is it
Catherine.
I'm gonna eat purple one.
Kristen.
Just stay up here.
Kristen, this is kind of falling apart there.
Another purple.
Okay. You have 30 seconds to finish. Spencer, turn. Hey, guys, listen. Part of learning is trying and failing. So, yeah, but you're selling yourself short. I want you to apply your brain before you decide that, you know, it's not there. So try to think it through. That way I have something to build on when I go over it with you in a moment. Bless you.
Just one thing I really don't understand about just one thing I really don't understand about numbers. Why does it have like a y value of 2?
Well, the really good news is you know the answer, and I'll get into the why once with everybody, okay? All right, final thoughts.
Is this a Tootsie Pop? Yes.
I don't understand.
Let's Tootsie Roll.
We had others that I hate Tootsie
Tootsie Roll lollipop.
Like when they whip the pig.
After you do that. Whoa.
Okay. You know, it's you get a little older and you start to realize things. I remember a wrestling team I coached years ago. We were very good. We had gone undefeated the year before, and then we were having an undefeated season. And leading up to a particular match, if I remember right, it was against Shoreham, and they just weren't sharp in practice. And I knew that there was something wrong. And I warned them. And I tried to get their heads in the game as best I knew how. Maybe I was the problem, and I just couldn't get their heads in the game. But in the days leading up to the match, I tried to get their heads in the game, and I just couldn't. And we got our butts kicked. We got spanked. And after that, the kids gained a great sense of purpose. And they practiced unbelievably well the rest of the year. And later in the year, we had an opportunity to go up against a team that crushed Shoreham, and we crushed them. And I said to the team, I said, you know, and that was Shoreham was our only loss of the year. And I remember saying to the team, we lost not because of our talent and not because of our ability, but we lost because of our attitude. We lost because of the way we went about our business. And we deserved to lose. Well, we also saw what we were capable of if we would have done it right. And the fear I have right now is there's such a level of distraction in the room that you will actually do poorly tomorrow, not because of your talent, or not because of your intellect, but because of your ability to focus on the task at hand, or your inability to focus on the task at hand more accurately. So, focus. Do what you have to do to produce on that test. After school tomorrow, after 8th period, and it is a go home early, you get to relax. But for now, you need to focus. Okay, so here's the deal. Okay. Oh, I hate when that happens. Well, we're gonna do looking at it in blue. Sorry. Okay, so the function y equals f of x is graphed over the interval from -8. So in other words, x stands for what, input or output? Input. So for all the inputs from -8 to +8, here's the function, it's graphed. Find f of -2. And I actually thought that this might be difficult for a lot of kids, yet it looks like we're getting the correct answers. Anthony came up and saw it. We only did this a little bit during the year, so I wasn't sure this would make sense to you guys. Look, here is -2 on the x-axis. So this is the point, -2, comma, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -5. -2, -5. Now, every single coordinate pair is x, y. Now, x stands for input, y stands for output. So if the pair is -2, -5, and it says evaluate each of the following, this means what is the output when the input is -2? The answer is -5. So all I have to do is look at the coordinate pairs, and I have the answers to each of these things. The next one says f of -8. Well, this is -8, +2. So what is f of -8? Everybody? +2, good. Then it says f of 8. So I come over here, and this is the point, 8, 0. So what is the value of f of 8? 0. And then we have f of 4. Here's 4. This is 4, what? 1. So what is f of 4? 1. Okay. So that's how we find each of those values. Pretty easy? Okay. Remember the mantra from yesterday. Performance is a function of preparation. If you're prepared for that, this is pretty easy. Yes?
How did you graph those coordinates?
Oh, I just graphed it. I'm going to give you the graph.
Oh, okay.
So you don't have to make the graph. I remember clear as a bell making the graph that's going to be on your test. I just forgot to do it on the pretest. So you'll see it on the test. Yes?
What does it mean over interval negatively is greater than?
This means, x means inputs. So this means wherever the inputs are -8 to 8, that basically means the graph from here to here.
Oh, I thought it was an answer. That's why I'm like, why
Nope.
is it?
Okay, next, find all the relative maximum and minimum values of the functions. Now, relative maximums and minimums are peaks and valleys that are not the highest peak or the highest valley. So for instance, this is a peak right here, okay? So we would say that there are relative maximums at 3 comma 1, 3 comma 1, 4 comma 1, these are maxes. And that's it. Now, just to compare that to absolute, which is the next question. The absolute max is -8 comma 2. So the absolute max is the highest maximum, the highest point in the entire graph. Relatives are still points where there's a turning, but it's not the highest point where there's a turning. So those would be relative maximums and minimums. Now, as far as a relative minimum, 8 comma 0. Right? Because it's a minimum, it's the bottom of a part of the graph, but it's not absolute. The absolute is -2, -5. Okay? Yes?
Why wouldn't the minimum, the relative minimum be, -2, 0, but, I mean, 0, -2. Why wouldn't?
Because it's not changing a direction. If it went up like this and then turned back down, then you would have a relative. But it has to be a change of direction. A minimum or maximum always has a change of direction. Anthony?
Why did you write the coordinates instead just on x equals -8?
Oh, I'm sorry. It does say state the values of x. So then it would be 3, 4, 8, -8, and -2. I didn't see that part about state the values
Okay,
first.
so that's all you write?
Yeah, if it says state the values, you just have to put the x values.
Okay.
Yes?
I don't understand why the minimum is 8, comma 0 when the lowest point on the graph is.
It's a relative minimum. It's not an absolute minimum. This is the absolute minimum.
Oh.
But this is a particular point on the graph that is a bottom. It's just not as bottom as the other one is a bottom. All right? So if I have a graph that looks like this, that's your absolute minimum, that's your absolute maximum. All of these other points in between are relatives. Okay? All right, so now, state the x and y intercepts. Well, the y-intercept is wherever it crosses the y-axis, so at this point, the y-intercept is -2. And the x-intercepts are the same things as the zeros. So that would be -5, 2, 8. -5, 2, 8. Okay? So, all you have to do on this question is look at the graph and then figure out what pieces of the graph represent the picture. Mark the coordinate, -2, -5, therefore f of -2 is -5. -8, 2, therefore f of -8 is 2. 8, 0, therefore f of 8 is 0, and 4, 1, therefore f of 4 is 1. Relative is the key word here. Maximums and minimums, and they only wanted the x value, so I needed to put 3, 4, and in this case 8. And then absolutes, max would be -8 and -2. X-intercepts are wherever it touches the x-axis, which would be here, here, and here. Y-intercepts are wherever it touches the y-axis, which is only there. Yes?
Wait, what was it? How do you find the absolute maximum?
Absolute max is the super highest point on the whole graph. The absolute min is the super lowest point on the whole graph.
Oh, I
Any max or relative max or mins are turning points that are in between the highest max and the lowest min.
I thought, they meant like absolute value.
No, definitely not absolute value. Okay, is there a question about this graph under here?
Yeah.
What does it say? Oh, where is it increasing? Okay, it's increasing from -2 to 3. So the answer to that question will go like this. -2 to 3. And by the way, we also accept the answer with parentheses. To me, technically, the parentheses, bless you, are the correct answer, because at -2, it's not increasing, it's not decreasing. It's just when you get past -2, it starts to increase. But on the regions, they accept both ways. And so that's the only area of the graph that's increasing. For decreasing, I got from -8 to -2, so that would look like this. -8 to -2, and also from 4 to 8. Right, this is interval notation, that's not coordinates, it's interval notation. Bless you. Interval notation. All right, if one of them says, is there any interval over which the value is staying the same, that would be from, and this we would use parentheses for, because, brackets, I'm sorry, because that does include the point, 3 to 4. This little section right here, interval value stays the same. Okay, any questions? All right. Again, just like last night, I said you should go home and watch the video if there are any problems. I say the same thing now. So the next thing I want to do while I'm on this page, before I go to another page, is have you look at this question. Go ahead.
What is the CEI?
CEI, consecutive even integer.
I did too.
On the paper, like if it was a test, I'd write it out, but I just wanted to fit everything in. Yes?
Okay, so I got the right answer,
Uh-huh.
but I didn't do like the interval right. I did x plus 2, and then x plus 4, and then x plus 6, and then x plus 7.
That'll work also, because that does take integers that are even.
Okay.
So it works also. It's a little bit more complicated, but it works just fine. So you would get full credit for that. Okay, yes?
How is it?
Next. Anybody else? Okay. Well, then ask, what part is it that is giving you a hard time? Go ahead.
What's with the 3x plus 22 part?
Well, do you see how at the end of this particular wording, and it's very important, as I go through, in fact, let me show you how I set up the whole equation. As I go through this, what I make it a point to do is underline the stuff that's important. 4 consecutive even integers. So, I wrote this part out. Then over here, it says 2 times the second. 2 times the second. That's what this first box is. Increased by the third. There's the third. There's the third. And, so it's also increased by this, the fourth. This is the fourth. That's the fourth. So 2 times the first, increased by the second, and the third, is equals 22 more than 3 times the first. More than, less shall be first shall be last. More than is addition. 22 goes at the end. 3 times the first goes to the beginning. And once you write that out, I know your algebra skills. You're going to get the equation right almost all the time. But you have to make sure, personally, I love when it's underlined. That gets your focus. And you use each piece of that. And if you want, check it off as you go along. Go ahead.
Is there any way to stop yourself from making really dumb mistakes? Like I did 2 times 2 was 8.
At 53 years old, I haven't found out how to do that yet. But I promise you, if I figure it out, I will let you know.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, there you go.
I've been doing this every time.
Yeah, you know what? In all honesty, I don't sweat things like that.
But it affected the whole answer.
I know, but if this was a 5-point question, you would have gotten 4 out of 5. And if the worst questions you have on a test are 4 out of 5, you're gonna have a great test. And the thing is, I hope that life is to be enjoyed a little bit. And to do that, we have to focus on our successes, not our failures. All right? So you acknowledge it, and you work at getting better, but you'll improve. It'll never be 100%. Yes?
How do you get x
Bless
plus
you.
8? How do you find out that's 10?
Oh, you just put the 8 here. 8 plus 2 is 10, 8 plus 4 is 12, 8 plus 6 is 14. Okay? All right, so we're good, right?
Yeah.
All right, now let's go to the very first page of your pretest. And we'll check those answers and see if there's any that you want to go over. No.
Oh my goodness.
All right, so
Which color did you get?
here we have the first four. Spencer, you look distracted, buddy.
Yeah. I'm very tired.
Be careful on number 3. You've got to switch the inequality, right? That's a classic mistake the kids will make.
Oh, yeah, because the negative.
That's right. You're dividing by a negative. Yes.
I don't understand number 2.
Number 2 says solve for v. So as soon as it says solve for v, what do you have to do?
Yeah, I did do that. Inverse.
Get v by itself, right? Okay. So it says a half, which is the same thing as dividing by 2. So I do the opposite and I multiply by 2. That gives me the 2k equals mv squared, right?
Yeah.
All right. Is the v by itself yet?
No.
What's the bad thing stopping the v from being by itself?
M.
M. So what do I got to do with that m?
Divide.
Divide, right? Because mv squared means multiply. So now I divide both sides by m, and I get 2k over m equals v squared. But now I need to do the opposite of squaring the v, which is to square root the v squared. And that gives me square root of 2k over m equals v. So the only real difference between this and everything you've done a million times in your life is we're adding in an equation the idea of inversing of squaring is square rooting. You already know inverse of multiplication, division, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, and vice versa. Now we add rooting and square and powers. Okay, any other questions? Hmm?
So when would you switch the sign in number 3?
Because you divided by a negative.
Okay.
I don't care about the 0, I care that I divided by a negative 5. If that was a positive 5, I would not switch the sign.
So when you divide by a negative, you
That's
switch
right.
the sign?
Yes, or multiply by a negative. Either one. Okay. On number 5, they're all on the parabola. All we need to do is look in the table, right? Number 6.
If it's like that.
On your test, it'll work out. Okay, 6, 7, 8, 9. Any questions?
What was 5?
Yeah, what was 5?
There is no answer to 5. They're all on the graph.
I just put. Do we have to use N for 7?
Oh, no, you could have used X.
Because I did 2 times X plus 2. So that.
Yeah, that's fine. Don't use an X symbol for times, though.
Yeah, I know. I did like
2n
times
or
in-
2x.
I did it in parentheses.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that would work. Okay. Any other questions? All right.
Wait, wait.
They're going Spanish.
Okay. X minus.
Ya hablo un poquito español.
No.
All right.
Can you over 8?
All right. Satellite television company charges a monthly fee and an installation fee. If the function computes the cost, C of x, can be represented by C of x equals 49.95x plus 37. What's the installation fee? What's the monthly charge? The monthly charge is the thing that is you get every single month. So the monthly charge is going to be multiplied by the number of months. What's the only thing in there that's being multiplied? Anthony?
29.95.
That's right. So that's how you know it's the monthly fee. And the installation charge is a one-time only fee. What's the thing that's a one-time only fee? Anthony?
37.
That's right. So that's why that is 37. AJ?
So, on the test, are we gonna have a question like this?
Yes.
Alright, so then how would you write it on that small line in the answer?
You wouldn't. It would be a multiple choice question on the test.
Oh, okay, good.
All right? Yes? The area of one rectangle is represented by that, trinomial, another by that. Find the difference. Well, difference means to subtract. So what I did was I put the negative and then I put the entire x squared plus 4x in parentheses. Now remember, wait, just one thing I want to emphasize. Listen, guys, we've been over this many, many times. For whatever reason, when students write it horizontally, as I wrote it there, I can tell you as the one who grades the paper, the overwhelming majority of students will get it correct. If you write it vertically, you are free to do so, and some of you who do that will get it correct, but close to 50% will get it wrong. So I strongly recommend doing it horizontally as I wrote there. Okay? All right, so now let's go to the next sheet of the homework.
Is that an 8?
86. I thought there might be some problems on number 11. Okay. Domain means what, everybody? Domain means what?
Set of all inputs.
Inputs. What does range mean?
Set of all outputs.
All right, you're only going to see a question like number 11 when it involves a linear function. Otherwise, it's very difficult to plug in every point. What you do is, there's two ways to do this. One way to do number 11 is to take the ends, the boundaries of the domain. In this case, the boundaries of the domain are 0 and 7. It actually includes all of the numbers in between, but the boundaries of the domain would be 0 to 7. I plug in a 0, 3 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. I plug in a 7, 3 times 7 is 21, plus 2 is 23. And that gives me the bounded region for the range. Now, there is another way to do it. The other way to do it is this. You get out your calculator, you type in y equals 3x plus 2 in that y equals button. You would go to graph, but you don't. You go to table. And on the table, 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 up to 7. And then you look at the y values that are in there. And just like the x's go from 0 to 7, you would then say the y's go from 2 to 23. And that would give you your range. Yes?
So you just keep it facing the same way? Like, I was about to ask.
Anytime you use this bounded interval notation, it will always be this. Always. Okay? Anthony?
I just wrote down all the numbers that like.
Here's the problem with that. They didn't limit it to integers. If they had limited the domain to integers, you would be fine. But when they don't do that, that includes 1.5, 2 3/4, 2.99, and you can't possibly write all those numbers down because there's an infinite number of numbers.
Yeah, but with yours, not all those numbers are like. Wait, never mind.
They are.
No, yeah.
Yes?
What does range mean then? In this
Outputs.
case?
Set of all outputs.
Oh, set of all outputs.
Yep, go ahead.
For number 13, I just got like a long decimal instead of 3.
Now go to math, enter, enter,
It's 82
which is 3 and 127. Okay, and if you had put that, you would get credit for it.
I got 3 and 9.
Yeah, me too.
3 to the negative 3 is not 1/9. Did you think that was a negative 2 by chance?
No,
No, I didn't.
No.
No, I knew.
Oh, well,
Oh, but
3
I
times
did
3
it
times
as-
3 is definitely
yeah.
not 9.
Oh, I was thinking.
Okay.
Oops.
Anything else?
I'm not too familiar.
Okay, let me scroll down a little bit more on this particular page. Okay. Oh, hold it, I gotta go back a little bit. There we go. Okay. So I think number 14 should be pretty easy and pretty straightforward. Number 15, it might have been a little tricky, but we've been working that. You should be getting 15 right by now. Okay, good. And as far as number 16 goes, obviously I forgot to draw the picture, but I don't think it's a big deal. So, yeah, exactly. You could have drawn your own picture. So here's the deal. The only thing you might have been a little bit unaware of was to shade the area in between the two figures. Okay? To get the shaded area in between, you have to find the area of the big rectangle, which is going to be 5n minus 4 times 2n plus 1. Get that answer. Then find the area of the square, which is n plus 3 times n plus 3. get that answer, and then you need to subtract them like we did in the previous
But
question.
how do we know
What's
which
the
side is the
answer?
shaded region?
The shaded region is always gonna be the area in between. It doesn't matter where you put the square, the shaded area will always be the same. Jenna?
In my other school, before I came here, I had a test on these, and that question was the last question, and everybody got it wrong because nobody read the directions correctly.
Yeah, yeah. The good news is, it's the kind of question that the first time you see it trips you up, and after that, you never miss it again, if your algebra skills are strong. AJ?
So what's the answer?
The final answer at the bottom there, 9n squared minus 9n minus 13. Yes?
Where'd you get the 9N's? Oh, whoops. What?
10n squared minus 1n squared.
Oh, I got. How'd you get one multiplied?
Because, listen, when I needed to find the area of the square, I got n squared plus 6n plus 9, I needed to subtract that whole thing. Okay? Any other questions? Yes, Sydney?
For 14, why'd you get 8 times 12 and
Oh, because, did you get x equals 12?
Yeah.
Good. Then it says find the measure of the largest angle.
Oh, okay.
So I had to take that 12 and multiply it by the 8.
Okay.
Okay? AJ, question?
Well, I was going to ask, why didn't you multiply n plus 3 by 4, because the square has 4 sides, because I would be finding the range.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
Very typical mistake. Any other questions? Yes?
Why is it n plus 5 times n plus 3?
It's n plus 3 times n plus 3. That's bad handwriting.
3?
Yeah, definitely. All right, any other questions? All right, so now your job for the rest of the period is to work together on today's pretest. And what I strongly suggest you do, super strongly, is you don't begin at number 1. I suggest you begin at whatever ones gave you a hard time. You work on those and use this as wise study prep. Now, I need to get out my muscles here, stretch out, because I have to hand out the candies to Kaylee and Carissa, and they are rivaling Kristen here for the class championship.
Listen to a lot.
Yeah, I think Kristen might have won by 1 or 2, but these guys have a lot also.
Because they're friends.
You're welcome.
5? I don't even have 5 friends.
All right.
I'm like negative 1.
All right, let's get to work. And folks, hey, excuse me, ladies, gentlemen, hey, look, one last thing. This video will be on the internet tonight, and just like last night, I strongly recommend, remember, performance is a function of what?
Preparation.
Is it a function of brain power?
Yes.
Slightly. Is it a function of your eye color? Your height?
Yes.
It is a function of your preparation.